All right, let's talk about the Mars Volta. You really can't discuss this band without talking about the two guys at its core, Omar Rodríguez-López and Cedric Bixler-Zavala. Theirs is a story of one of modern rock's most brilliant, chaotic, and somehow enduring creative partnerships.
So, seeing them back on stage like this, for anyone who followed their story, this was a huge deal. The Mars Volta were absolute legends, known for these wild, sprawling live shows and albums so complex they could make your head spin. And for a full decade, a sight like this, it just wasn't going to happen.
So that's the big question, isn't it? How did one of the most brilliant partnerships in modern rock just implode so spectacularly? And maybe even more importantly, what on earth brought them back together? To get it, you've got to go all the way back to the beginning, because the story of the Mars Volta, it's really the story of Omar and Cedric.
Phoenix from the ashes. And that's really the perfect way to put it. Because their story doesn't start with a creation. Not really. It starts with the complete and total destruction of another huge band.
So, back in 2001, Omar and Cedric's band, At the Drive-In, was about to blow up. We're talking mainstream, commercial breakthrough, and they just walked away. Pulled the plug. Why? Well, they were bored. They felt trapped. They wanted to do something crazier. Something that was part prog rock, part psychedelia, part Latin jazz fusion. They wanted to start the Mars Volta. So they basically started from scratch, back to playing tiny clubs, just channeling this raw, chaotic energy. An energy that, was fueled by some pretty heavy drug use. But that whole period came to a screeching, tragic halt. In 2003, their sound manipulator and really close friend, Jeremy Ward, died of a heroin overdose. And that moment, it changed everything for Omar and Cedric.
Just listen to what Cedric said about it. It's chilling. That was the moment, the wake-up call. They quit opioids right then and there, and all that intense energy that had been going into self-destruction, they poured every last drop of it into their music, kicking off this era of just unbelievable, focused creativity.
The era of grand concepts. Okay, this is the period that made the Mars Volta who they are. This is when they started creating these incredibly dense, story-driven albums, basically turning real-life pain and mystery into these epic, modern myths.
Take their debut album, Deloused in the Comatorium. This whole thing was a concept album, a direct response to all that pain. It tells this wild story about a guy in a drug-induced coma, but it's not just fiction. It's based on the tragic, true story of their friend Julio Venegas, an artist from their hometown who overdosed, fell into a coma, actually recovered, and then later took his own life. They took that unimaginable loss and turned it into art. Just incredible.
So after all the critical acclaim for Deloused, they followed it up with their biggest album commercially, Francis the Mute. And you guessed it, just like the first one, the story behind this album is rooted in some real-world mystery. You are not going to believe this. The entire idea for the album came from a diary that Jeremy Ward, the friend who had passed away, found in the back of a repossessed car when he was working as a repo man. The diary told the story of an adopted person trying to find their birth parents. And the band, they took these little diary entries and spun this entire epic musical world out of them.
Descent into Bedlam. Yeah, things were about to get messy. Because that same intense, high-pressure environment that was fueling all this incredible music, it also started to create some serious cracks in the foundation. Omar's perfectionism and just the non-stop touring, it was really starting to wear on everybody else. And you can see it perfectly in what happened with their amazing original drummer, John Theodore. In his own words, he was literally about to go tell the band he was quitting. He just couldn't do it anymore. But before he could even say it, they called a meeting and fired him. He actually said he was thankful because he didn't have the guts to leave on his own. That right there is a pretty big red flag for how unstable things were getting. And after John Theodore was out, man, that drummer seat became a total revolving door. Just look at this list. We're talking 6 different drummers in just 5 years. You don't need to be a rock historian to know that kind of turnover means something is seriously wrong behind the scenes.
So, can a Ouija board curse an album? You might think that's a crazy question, but as if the band drama wasn't enough, the making of their 4th album, The Bedlam in Goliath, came with a story so weird it became a legend in its own right.
Okay, so the story goes, Omar buys this Ouija board in Jerusalem, brings it back, and all hell breaks loose. Their studio floods twice. Their main engineer has a complete nervous breakdown. Digital tracks would just disappear from the recordings. They were convinced this board, the soothsayer, was cursed. And the craziest part? After all that chaos, the album comes out, and they win a Grammy for it. I mean, of course they did. Only the Mars Volta.
The long hiatus. After a couple more albums, all that pressure, all the creative fights, it all finally boiled over. The thing that had been holding it all together for a decade, that partnership, it just broke. And the end didn't come with some big formal press release. Nope, it came on Twitter. January 23rd, 2013, Cedric just posts that he's no longer a part of the Mars Volta. Just like that. Blunt, public, it was over.
And you can hear the pain in how Cedric talked about it later. Mom and Dad were splitting up. For him, this wasn't just some band breaking up, this was a family falling apart. It really shows you just how deep that relationship went and how much it hurt when it collapsed.
But then you have Omar's perspective, which was different, more reflective. He kind of owned his part in it, talking about his anger and how he spent his life closing doors. It's fascinating, right? You've got these two quotes that show two guys processing the exact same breakup in completely different ways.
An unexpected return. And for years, it really seemed like that was the end of the story. But like Omar himself said, he was done closing doors. And apparently, some doors just aren't meant to stay closed for good.
Now, the road back wasn't quick. It was a process. They actually started another band together, Antimask, back in 2014. It was kind of like their way of fixing their friendship without all the pressure and baggage that came with the Mars Volta. And it worked. By 2019, they were secretly recording again, and then, in 2022, bam, a new album, the first in 10 years.
And that brings us right back to where we started, full circle. It's the same picture, but now you kind of get the full weight of it, right? This isn't just some cash grab reunion tour. This feels different. It feels like a more mature, more stable version of their partnership, one that was built on all the hard lessons they learned from the collapse.
This quote from Omar, it really says it all. For these guys, progressive isn't just some dusty old genre label. It's their entire philosophy. If you're not moving forward, you're dead in the water. And their whole career proves it, right? Leaving a successful band, turning tragedy into art, and yeah, even finding your way back to your most important creative partner after everything fell apart.
So after all of it, decades of pure chaos, unbelievable creativity, a total collapse, and then this incredible reconciliation, what could possibly be next? Their whole story is proof that a truly special creative partnership can survive pretty much anything. They've been through it all and are somehow still here, still pushing forward. Which leaves all of us wondering, what in the world does the next chapter look like?